I wish I brought water, but I didn't. Okay, I'll call the meeting to order for 7 o'clock tonight, the select board meeting for Monday, November 13th. I'm the vice chair, Joe Boozer, filling in for Darla, who's out on medical. Okay, review agenda for additional removal or adjustments, any items per 1 VSA 312. Any
Yes, we
adjustments?
do have a few items to consider. The listers provided us today with an errors and omissions report that they would like added to the agenda. I suggest that we revisit the select board's discussion of meeting on December 4th and decide whether to still do that either as a special select board meeting for regular business. But I shared information that I don't believe it's appropriate to begin the public hearing process on December 4th. So add that to the agenda. And to item 7 regarding the appointment to the Bicycle Ped Committee, we learned that Brad Cameron is also interested. So we might want to add him to the candidates being considered for appointment for that.
That's number 6.
Why don't we do a
Oh,
6A
6.
for
Okay.
6A? We'll call
Thank
it
you.
6A for Brad.
And I wanted to acknowledge that item 1 should be a water commission matter. That should have been identified on the agenda. And that the loan documents, the revolving loan documents are not ready for tonight.
Okay.
That's okay, I was gonna say it.
And that's under 10, right?
I think so.
So why don't we call it 10A and call it, what's the one you wanted to put in there for the listers?
Errors and omissions, yeah.
Okay.
So 10's out,
And we'll
and
just,
we'll just replace it with omissions and errors.
well, we have to just say it's not ready. It's on the agenda, so we'll
Yeah.
just say it's not ready.
Yeah.
So 10A is listers, letter,
Mhm.
Omissions and
errors and omissions. Okay. Did I get them both, Brad and Cameron and the lister's letter?
And
then-
Jessica,
And Jessica's on there already.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. And, the loan is not ready, so you'll just report that it's not ready when you get there.
correct.
The water commissioner is just the regular tentative. Yeah. Okay. All ready? Is that it?
That's enough.
Okay. Overview of the Zoom meeting. We're all professionals at this now. Meeting operations procedures, rules for participation, mute your microphone, and be recognized by the chair. And, okay. I don't think we need to mute the microphones here in the room, and on the Zoom public forum. Anybody would like to speak to thing that's not on the agenda, up to 5 minutes. Okay? Okay.
Just working on it.
Department roundtable. Department heads roundtable. Eric, you're here. We'll go with you first. Got nothing? Just
No, we
It's
had our
snowing.
first, just shush. We had our first snowstorm, like usual, we had some problems afterwards, something broke, a couple things broke down that normal happens with the first couple times out. Got them all fixed up, so we're all back up and running. Basically, just puttering around, getting stuff ready for winter.
what about the Freightliner? 2 weeks ago, you gave us a report that you ordered gonna order the
Front end is ordered, haven't heard anything, regarding when it's gonna be in.
Okay.
So as soon as I hear something, I will let you guys know.
Okay. Anybody else up there? Brett, you see you're on? Go ahead.
You hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, just a couple of quick updates for the board. Just for your awareness, the town's 2007 pumper tanker that has been over in Latham, New York for many weeks, having the body work done on it. That was a result of the December storm from last year. It was returned to us the middle of last Wednesday. So we're thrilled to have that back in service. This week, later this week, I don't know what day yet, but Lakes Region Fire Apparatus, who we purchased the town's new pumper from, they will be coming to the Bristol Fire Station to hopefully complete the punch list of items, the last remaining items to address on the vehicle. So hopefully we can put that to bed. And the only other thing I just wanted to mention was that for the last few weeks, I've just been working on my budget. I probably don't have to tell you all that increases everywhere, it's amazing, and every vendor tells you, yeah, you can expect 7, 8, 10% increase come the first of the year. And it's really difficult. And when you're planning and you're trying to be fiscally responsible. So one of my exercises I'm performing right now is just looking at areas in our budget where we potentially could cut. Just one small example, we currently receive rugs, weather mats from UniFirst monthly. It doesn't seem like a big expense, but if it's an area, well, I think we could probably do without rugs. So it's challenging. And I'm sure all the department heads probably feel the same way as they begin to look at their budget. So, but that's all I had, pending any questions from you all.
Okay, thank you. Anybody questions for Brett? Thank you. Okay, Bruce, are you on, or Meredith?
Bruce is, I saw him just sign on.
Yeah, there he is. Thank you,
Running a
Bruce.
little late, but I'm here.
Okay,
So I just wanted to acknowledge the great job that Sergeant Graham and Francis Smith did 2 weeks ago when we were called to that incident on North Street. We found out very quickly that the current space we have at the station wasn't large enough to do an effective interview with 3 different people. So we requested assistance from the state police, which they were more than happy to provide. And because they had more resources, we asked them to take the lead on the case. But our officers were still involved in collection of evidence, scene safety, and some interviews. So I just wanted to make sure that people recognize that they did a great job. So that, and now that you're seeing some snowflakes out there, remind everybody that the overnight parking ban is in effect. So you can park on the town street from 11 p.m. I think it's 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. With the exception of Main Street. And unless that light is on, then they'll have to make arrangements for a different location when the light's on. That's it.
okay, thank you, Bruce. Meredith, you up there? You on?
I haven't seen her.
I haven't seen her.
I think that's it.
Okay,
Taylor Welch was expecting to zoom in.
No, I don't see her.
She's
Let's see,
not on yet. Maybe we can circle back.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay. Alrighty, we'll put our water commissioner's hat. We're concerned by Dale Dingler regarding a 17 School Street water connection and leak repair. Just to give you a brief, Valerie and I and Jill, Cyrus and Dale had a Zoom meeting on
Thursday.
Cyrus wasn't there, excuse me, Cyrus wasn't there. It was Friday or Thursday? Thursday, because that's how we get the agenda out, so. Do you wanna lead that discussion, Valerie? Go ahead and give us the briefing, the board.
Well, I did try to capture the highlights in my notes, but the short part of a long story is that the dwelling at 17 School Street had a broken water line for a very long time. It needs repair. It's a complicated location and situation. It's located off of School Street, which is not a town, the part of School Street that's not a town road. And there's a map that I included online that shows the location and how its water line is not mapped where it meets the water main off of School Street, where it turns the corner onto Park Place. So there are multiple concerns about conducting a repair at that location at this time of year, whether it's a direct dig or directional bore to preserve the driveway. It's old material. It's served by an archaic, what's called a buffalo box type of curb stop. It's believed to be vintage 1920s. and its condition is questionable. And the entire quality of the water line serving that end of School Street is questionable. And so there's concern that once one part of it gets tinkered with for the repair, that there's going to be a domino effect where other parts are going to also require repair. They might fail, they might be brittle. It's unpredictable. And at this time of year, there's concern about doing that. So the owner is Mr. Dingler, and he's very concerned about having water restored to that property by the end of the month. So that was what we were trying to find a solution for. And when we left our Zoom meeting on Thursday, we really didn't arrive at a workable solution for this time of year. So I don't know if anybody is there in person or on Zoom to represent the rest of the situation.
Dale is here.
Yeah,
Okay.
it doesn't matter, just let me talk a little bit, I'll just, and I'm not unreasonable, but this has been a 10-year long issue. And I've been dealing with, I'm just gonna call them Cyrus and Company, because I don't know, whatever, but they knew that this was coming. Now, I started back in September, I could have done this a year ago. They knew that I was working on that house, getting ready to move into it. Well, I bought it, it's my son's house, he's gonna move into it, be ready at the end of the month. And this has been a long issue over there. Should have been taken care of years ago, but I'm not gonna get hung up on that. I'm willing to take care of it at whatever the cost is. I haven't even said to anybody, I don't know, but it's a unique situation. The water line runs 175 feet under a driveway. Now, I can dig the driveway up and repave it. Or we can use a directional bore, which we've talked about. I've talked about it with Cyrus. I mean, that's the best way, but you have to have somebody on the other end of that hole. So once that line comes out, that you can hook it up. So I set this up with Cyrus and Company. I started in September. And he's given me so much misleading information. I can't believe I'm the only one, but he's the one that said middle of November. I can't touch, we can't do anything. So I get a directional board. There's 3 in the state, and they're very hard to get. All lined up for November 13th, today. And a week ago, this started all falling apart when I talked to Jill, and they weren't even talking about the same story. And I might have made her mad by saying, hey, you know what? This is happening on the 13th. I need to make this happen. And I said, you guys need to, I didn't even realize I was his wife at this point, but I said, you guys need to get together and make this happen. And somebody needs to call me tomorrow, being Friday, because like I said, I can't hold this directional bore at large. I mean, they're just booked solid all the time. And they didn't call. So finally I called Cyrus and he didn't answer a couple of times. Then I sent him a text saying, hey, this is happening Monday. We need to make it happen. He called me back up, and then this is when it all fell apart for me. He said, okay, dude, first of all, this isn't my project. Well, I don't know whose project it is, but since then I've learned a whole lot more about it. If he'd told me 3 months ago that I could have directional bored that, had a private excavator in there to dig this hole on the other end, then that was never the case. I was never told that. I don't know this stuff. And for me, they were very hard to work with. I have not been unreasonable. You'll never see me mad. I don't ever get mad about anything. There's always a solution though. I'll figure it, if I figure it out on my own, but this has all come about now. So luckily for me, and I don't know that it still can even happen, the directional borer is flexible enough, because he's boring in New Haven right now, that we swap the times. But Thursday's the day that he can come do this. Now, all of a sudden, talking with Jill in our Zoom meeting, everything's gonna blow up over there. And I know she said at one time, we turn the water on, we're gonna contaminate the whole water system, but that's not true. I had them over there, we turned the water on, because I was pretty sure it broke underneath the house, and I had quite a long time to even get them over there. They turned it on, it held 40 pounds of pressure, which was a lot better than the house had to begin with, but I wanna get it fixed. It's for my kid. I don't wanna have him have any problems down the road. And the other thing that I wanna get out on the table here while I'm thinking of it is the ordinance reads copper line. I really wanna go with plastic line there. It's 175 feet. There shouldn't be a joint. They have to drag it through. And, I just don't know, I don't know how soft copper will pull through that, but, and here again, misleading information. Cyrus had already okayed that for me, told me where to go buy it, what I need to get, but then Thursday when I talked to Jill, she said, well, I think you've gotta go in front of the board to get that okay. So that's one of the reasons I'm here, and another reason, I'm looking for some kind of solution here that, you know, it's not like this just surfaced 3 months ago, because when I bought that place, I think I bought it 2.5 years ago to do this house all over for my son. There wasn't a person in the office here that didn't know that that water was leaking over there. And I can't imagine how many millions of gallons of water went in that ground, but it went on for 10 years. And I don't know, so I've had it shut off for probably 1.5 years. I called to have it shut off, and I actually wanted to shut off that fall, but Cyrus, I'm not touching that right now, wrong time of the year, like we're saying now, but they brought me to this date. I didn't bring myself to it. I didn't all of a sudden say, well, November 13th is the earliest I can do it.
Okay.
And what's that?
Wait a minute, and why you couldn't do it the directional boring today is our policy says copper, they could, Jill and Cy can veto.
Oh, no, I would've gone with copper if we
They
could've
can
done
do
it
it.
today.
But, plastic that has to come before the board, we have to sign off on it.
But I would, if it could've happened today, I would've been fine with copper, but they weren't gonna do it. They just all of a sudden just ended this thing, ever how they did it. I lost my contact with them to come and do this. And then when we're on the Zoom meeting, they're showing me, you know, how the line comes in there, and they're 60 feet that could blow up and everything else, but why is that my problem? And I'm not looking to turn water on, blow everybody's water up either. I'm absolutely not. But they're saying, well, we turn this water on, it could blow up. Well, I can tell you, that water ran freely over there for 10 years. So there was no pressure.
From the
on that
Buffalo
point.
box.
Yeah.
From the curb stop, let's just call it a curb stop.
Yeah.
It's style is Buffalo. From there to your house, the 175.
Right, so it had always leaked there for the last 10 years. So there's no pressure on that line. So there's not a person that's gonna convince me by turning this water onto that house with a new line hooked up, everything's gonna blow up, because once they shut that off, it's like shutting off a faucet, that puts all the pressure back on the main line. So that main line has all the pressure that it's gonna have right now. As soon as you turn it on again, it's gonna relieve that pressure, but
Okay, I have a
I
question.
just don't know. I'm just looking for a solution. I really,
The Buffalo box curb stop, is that just to his house, or is that curb stop to more than just one?
Just to his.
no, it's a,
Just to his, so the main line goes into the Buffalo curb stop, and then his service line comes off of it?
To make first of all, you know where the corner of Park, where the bell is?
Yeah.
That's where the 8" or 6" main comes
Mhm.
down Park Street, heads down School Street.
Mhm.
We don't know exactly what is going up the alley to the old high school or to the
When you
rectory,
say alley, you mean from
from that
park and
corner
school to
up to the bell, from
To
there
the-
to
the sidewalk?
up to the gym.
To-
Let's call it to the
yeah,
gym.
yeah,
Be fit. Okay.
Mhm.
We don't know what size line that is. Presently, I guess we don't know.
And is that?
And we
but
don't
is-
know where the curb stops is for the old gym or the old high school, for the rectory, or for,
For the two.
as we all know, Larry Dole's old house and then Bill Hyra's old house. I'll refer to.
Are
old-
you
The
able
house
to
is
see
up.
the image on the screen?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
See,
Are you not seeing it?
yeah.
that Buffalo box from here, what I'm just saying,
Yeah.
up to here, the Buffalo box is right there.
Yeah.
We don't know where that curb stop is, that one, or this old high school, whether it's got one or two.
Mhm.
We can't find them.
But I mean, this has been a 10-year long issue with nobody proactive on this thing whatsoever. I do know at one time they looked at directional boring it. And, it had been looked into, but it never went to the next step. And I mean, that was when I bought it, before I bought it, I talked to them about it, and there's, you know, there's directional boring and.
So you have the directional boring organized, and it was supposed to be today. When?
Thursday.
Thursday.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
you can do it again Thursday after that. It's
Okay, so is there the opportunity to do it on Thursday if he has a directional boring guy?
But
Organized.
he'll need an excavator at this end, it could be a private excavator at this end to tie into the line, or dig to tie in the line,
Okay.
but Cyrus
Tie
and
into the
Jill
buffalo.
need to be there to witness it.
Okay,
Tie
so
into the buffalo.
Jill and Cyrus are online. I don't know, Jill, if you wanna speak to this. So my question was, if he has the guy come on Thursday, is it possible to have work done on Thursday with you guys being there, or is your schedule not able to meet that?
Cyrus and I aren't available that day, so the thing about that particular, he could technically have somebody put a sleeve in and pull copper through it as far as materials go and means and methods, number one. Number
Okay.
two, that line could be pulled and come close to the curb box. As far as tying it into the curb box, that can't be done without a water system operator present. That would be myself or Cyrus. I have a level 2 assessment at another water system in the morning. So I can't be there until the afternoon, and Cyrus is scheduled at another customer to finish up a project because it keeps snowing and there's a day with no snow. So,
Okay, so there's potential to have,
Done Thursday afternoon,
Right,
he
or-
can do his,
but
and
there's
she
no
can
rush,
finish
there's
it.
no rush to do the connection. If you can do the work with the boring and get what you need to the building, and then the connection by our water people can be done, doesn't have to be the exact same time, is that correct?
here's the thing that's tricky, okay? It's like
Okay.
20-something degrees at night for the most part from this day forward. So if that hole gets left open for,
No, I can't leave it open.
you can't leave it open because of public safety and it will freeze. So, the timing of the project is pretty essential and as far as the success of the project. So if the tie-in to the Buffalo box becomes incredibly complicated and the Buffalo box can't be shut off, for instance, we'd need to go to the corporation. We don't know where the corporation is. We don't know if the corporation is in a line somewhere along School Street, close to the house, or if it's all the way on the corner of the line, on the corner of School and Park Street. So the complication is that if it gets complicated, there's a whole lot of digging and there might need to be shut-offs if things get hit and corporations can't be turned off. So it's the bigger part of any time you open things up, it can get, go from something super simplistic to something very complicated and big and messy. So
Can
it's
you-
not that Dale can't go under that driveway and put a line in. It's that getting it connected is another story.
Okay,
I mean, we always have these risks whenever we work on any water project.
right.
I mean, I don't understand, but no, I do understand why we don't know where stuff is, just because this is a town, but I mean, at some point, it's gonna have to get done. I mean, he's gotta get water to the house, he's gotta drill the line.
Yep.
I
So
guess
we
the
need to
first
figure
thing,
this out.
yeah, I think the first thing we need to answer though, before we even, whether we're gonna drill or not drill, is the board gonna allow plastic with a tracer wire? That we have, some incidents, we have done that before.
Right.
You know how I am, I'm not a favor of plastic line cheapening up our system.
No, and neither,
We did-
and
we did
and
just the
neither is
new
our engineer and our water department, they aren't fans. I mean, as you said, we've done it in certain cases where it was a certain amount of length, just because of cost and things like that, but generally we require copper. But it doesn't sound like you're averse to using copper, you have concerns that it might
It's
get,
just, I gotta have a joint in the center of that driveway,
yeah.
you know, and that's an issue, that is.
I mean, the last time we had plastic, did we require them to have it insulated?
I don't remember, Joe, didn't we approve plastic up where, Kim Smith building the houses in the old Devenall, around the old Devenall barn, where we burned a house on North Street? Aren't all those four units presently there, all
You
plastic?
approved
One of them was done
plastic,
without.
you approved plastic
Yes.
retroactively to the Cottage Street Park because they installed plastic.
Correct.
Not because we really wanted them to do
Correct.
that, that was,
Not because you
Dumb.
wanted it there, because it was
Right.
installed and you had the authority to have them dig it up and replace it, but you chose not to.
but I thought we had another place where we authorized plastic with a tracer wire, and I thought we had insulation.
It would all be written up in the approval.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Jill, do you have concerns about not using copper? And can you address concerns of, that it might get damaged in terms of how it's being put in? for this particular location?
That copper, so I don't think that you can pull two pieces of copper with a coupling in the middle with a directional boring machine. I think he would have to pull a sleeve and then slide the copper through the sleeve. That sleeve would give him a pathway under that driveway to pull a line 100 times if he wanted to, because there'd be a sleeve there. That's what the V-Trans requires for any crossing underneath their state roads. Is
Okay.
actual sleeves. As far as the material, it's been recommended by our engineer and by most of the water community that copper is a longer lasting, easier to find, more preventative of leaks material. Again, that's not for me to approve or disprove. That's for you guys, the water commission, to approve or
It is
disprove.
in the ordinance, and I would think anything over 100 feet, it ought to be used, but as it's being,
Do you have an issue using a sleeve? Does that add considerable cost to it?
oh, yeah, it's quite a cost to it, but I just,
You must get it done.
Right.
yeah, I mean,
Okay.
whatever I gotta do, but, everybody uses plastic today, they really do. I mean, it's better than copper, it is. But anyways, I don't get hung up on it, it just, that is what it's gonna be, but, and here again, Jill's saying it's this time of the year, she's not saying that they didn't have it lined up for today, which they did. I mean, they're the ones that brought me to this date, and now it's too late. I never once, and I don't need to go in, and I don't really wanna go into this argument, but I never really once felt as though they were on board doing this anyways. Matter of fact, I'm not even a betting man, but I would have bet that it wasn't gonna happen, which is always.
I'm not gonna, yeah, let's,
But I don't wanna argue that.
yeah,
I just,
thank you.
I'm looking for a solution.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess at this point,
Okay.
I don't know, turn the water back on. Gonna
We
leak through
can, and
the-
that is an option.
Gonna leak through the winter, I've had it off for 2 years.
I was
So-
gonna ask who was in there.
What's that?
You've been working
It's the
on
old-
it for 2 years, so there's
Michelle,
been
you
nobody in
remember, it's
there.
the old Haynes place.
Yeah, I know, but I just had no idea. There was nobody's been in there for 2 years. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah, no.
Okay.
Jill, is there,
It held 40 pounds of pressure.
Mhm.
Jill, is there an issue with, doing that, turning the water back on and scheduling this for next year?
I mean, it's up to you guys. If you turn it back on, it does have positive pressure. It's got about 45 pounds. There's 55 pounds missing, meaning it's leaking out in that line. It just means that you're gonna spend more money pumping water into the ground, but, you know,
Yeah, and I'm not big on that either, believe
Right.
me, but, it went for 10 years.
Right.
And, I guess we know the Buffalo Box works fine, because Joe, you were over there a couple of months ago, turned the water back on just to see what we're pulling for pressure, because I wanted to do a pressure test on it, just to, for my own knowledge, I guess, but, we know that Buffalo Box works fine, it's been on and off. So I guess if for some reason we get further into the winter and it's not working, we just shut it off again.
Okay.
it's not that it won't work. It's just gonna dump a ton of water in the ground. So,
Well, and it has for the last 10 years, or.
So Jill, let me ask you this, if we agree to turn the water on, and believe me, the only leak we had on 17 Screw Street in this whole system, I would sit here and go, thank you.
Right.
But we know we pump somewhere about 700,000 gallons a day, and we're selling about 500,000 gallons a day, so I know we're not losing
No,
200,000 gallons.
it's
on
actually-
Screw Street. Hold on, let me finish, so if we agree to turn it on, and we realize, we're gonna be pumping a little more, but then we request that copper be put in the spring and go all the way back to not the main, but to the line that goes up the alley with a new curb stop. I guess I could go there.
That's
What do you mean back to the line?
Not go back just copper to the Buffalo Box.
yeah, that's the
Because
whole point.
there might be 10 feet between the Buffalo Box and the so-called, I'll call it distribution line, not the main.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Okay, go back to that line and tie in.
From
I'd
my
be
house right to the main.
I'd be a whole lot more comfortable with this project in the spring, when the weather's appropriate. Then I think that there could be an absolute nightmare of digging that up right now and it turning into a very large project with no pavement to replace it. So I guess I'm more in favor of turning it back on with the condition that it needs to be replaced no later than, let's say, May 15th of next year. That way it's no more than 6 months from today. There's a requirement for it to get replaced. It's required to be copper because then it's the material that this system is by ordinance supposed to have. And then it's a nice long-term solution. It gives Dale and his family the water that they need throughout the winter. It gives them an amicable solution in the spring. I don't know. I had to think about this and put myself in his shoes because, you know, there is a water connection there. It's just, it leaks. So.
Okay, you
Jill,
can't
you-
direct more.
Go ahead, Jill, finish up. Go ahead, Jill.
Well, I think that's it. It's just, I think that the only solution at this moment that wouldn't possibly result in just a nightmare would be to just turn it back on and pray that it doesn't blow up. And when I say pray that it doesn't blow up, I mean that the line that's there, once opened back up, doesn't decide to make a 1-inch break and just boil up out of the ground in the middle of the winter.
Then we have to take care of it.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, but there again, that, you can shut the water off, they shut it for me.
I think we deal with that when, you know, we cross that bridge when it comes.
My question is, can you direct bore it now and just leave that
We'd have
in
to
there?
dig it.
You can't,
We'd
you'd have to actually connect it, you can't direct bore it, leave it now and then finish it in the spring.
You gotta have a hole on the other end.
And,
I mean,
and
they probably-
you had mentioned that you wanted to be able to schedule,
Hold
Joe,
on.
wait a minute,
Wait a
or
second,
whoever, wait a minute. Go
They
ahead.
probably could bring it back up out of the ground, but Peter, the neighbor up front, it would be sitting by his porch and then we'd have to dig his hole on up. I mean, the way we had it set up to begin with them at the end of the road digging it up, it just goes right in the
Very straight
hole
through.
and so.
Okay, go ahead, Valerie.
well, when we talked last week, Jill recommended that we schedule a block off at least 2 days to do this project to be able to accommodate things if they require much more work than originally expected, and also to have time to put the neighbors on notice that if there is a larger incident that evolves out of it, that they might lose water for some period of time if the lines need to be turned off.
Well, if it get blown up in the middle of the winter, they're gonna wind up with it without water anyway, but no, I understand that. I mean, but I think at this point, we need to give him a date certain in the spring. I mean, I understand it's weather permitting, but if he's gotta do scheduling.
I like Jill's idea, May 15th, it will be 175 feet of copper. And wherever the new curb stop will be, from that curb stop back to that distribution line will be replaced too, and tied into either it's gonna be a bore or what.
So you're saying get rid of the buffalo box and
Get
put
rid
in
of the buffalo box
a
in the
new
spring.
curb stop.
We're not tying into that old thing anymore.
But they're gonna put a new curb stop in again, correct?
Somewhere in the vicinity where that buffalo box is now.
Right.
And then there might be, kind of like at my house, they went from that main about 15, 20 feet off the road to my curb stop. And then I had
I
copied
just wanna
that.
make sure that it's on the.
We own from the main to the curb stop, and the homeowner has everything beyond the curb stop.
Right,
We own the curb stop and the main.
but the curb stop is gonna be back situated roughly where.
Out of the right of way, so
Yeah.
the plows don't hit it.
Yeah, not in the middle of the road.
Right,
Not in the middle of the road.
The only thing we have in the middle of the road are the mains,
Mhm.
shop, tees and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
I think the important part of this project too is that we also want to address the town side of this water service, because chances are it's the same thing on the other side. And that might mean chasing it back all the way to the corner, which could be even more than 2 days. And honestly, I think it'd be great to speak with the property owners. This is not a town road up in that area. It's a privately owned space.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think there's a lot more communication that needs to happen for this project to be what I would call really super positive, lots of communication for a planned project. It just needs some more attention. So I would much prefer it to happen in the spring.
And if I'm correct, Joe, I told the crowd here earlier, maybe you were listening or weren't on yet, but, we are not 100% sure where the old high school or the rectory or the Larry Dole's old house or Bill Hires old house, I don't know who lives there now, so I apologize for using old names.
Yeah.
We don't know exactly where their curb stops are, correct?
No, there's probably like a couple days worth of research to do to see if there's any records whatsoever, to see if there's another type of line in here somewhere, to speak with some of the old operators and see what they recall, to do some line locating. There's just a lot of work that needs to happen for it to be a successful project and to not interrupt water to the surrounding neighborhoods for a long period of time while it's cold out. I would not want things to freeze. Have a lot of angry people. And like Michelle has said, there are water emergencies, and when they happen, they're super stressful and it ticks off a whole lot of people. So if we can plan ahead for it and communicate with neighboring persons that it could become a water interruption. It could be for a day or two, and here's the dates it could be. And if that means that certain businesses that use a whole lot of water don't schedule on those days, then
I would like to see it then, from one of the board members here, make a motion that this project, the water can be turned back on, realizing we're going to have a leak, possible, I'll use the word possible, leak, and, on the service line, that this project will be done between May 1st and May 15th, no later than May 15th, with a new copper line.
You wouldn't consider plastic on it at that point?
Not if we're gonna wait, Dale, I would really like copper. I didn't like the ones that, and if I could have convinced the board, we'd have dug up Cottage Park and made the owner put copper in.
And it's in our ordinance.
Yeah,
So,
we're cheapening up our system by not using, by putting plastic in.
I mean, you can make that motion, one of us can second that. It's
Yeah.
fine for you to make a motion.
Okay,
I'll
make that motion that we allow the V-Towns to turn the water on at 17 School Street through the winter months, and new copper line with a new curb stop back to the distribution line in the alley will be put in between the May 1st and May 15th, no later than May 15th.
Okay, second.
So I'll try to get a directional bore set up during that time, because we gotta kind of like
Yeah,
Right.
engage with them. I mean, it all has to happen the same day.
Absolutely.
And
right.
and I'll have to let somebody know when they turn the water back on, because
Oh, that's what I was
I'm
gonna.
gonna have to run a line into the house at this point. I wasn't gonna do that, because we're gonna run nonstop.
You don't, but you, Phil, the board, and you informed us on Thursday's Zoom meeting that there was no pressure, and then you replaced about 10 or 15 feet
Yeah, I went back.
inside the house to outside the house. for about 15.
No, we dug outside of the house, went back about 15 feet from the house, because I'm pretty sure it broken under the house,
So
which it had to have been, but there is another leak in there somewhere
in the house or outside the?
outside,
Outside.
down underneath that. But I can tell you, there was no way there's 40 pounds of pressure there when I bought that place. They would just trickle out of the.
Okay, so,
So, I mean, some of it's been taken care of, but.
I would work that out with,
This is not an ideal.
I would work it out with
I
V-Towns.
don't wanna see that happen either.
They won't turn anybody's water on. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe. They won't turn on anybody's water unless the owner is present.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
so,
so, yeah.
no, I'm there till it's done. Like I said, and she said, my it's not for me, it's
Yeah.
my son's house,
So I have a question though, if we turn the water back on, there's a water leak, is he getting charged for that water? Because it's not going through the meter,
No,
right?
the meter's
Okay.
the
No.
meter's after that,
No.
Okay.
Nice.
but not an ideal solution, but it's better than nothing. And like I said, I've had it shut off for 2 years anyway,
Right.
so it's.
And we'll make sure that it's better organized in the spring. For you.
Right.
You know, it seems like
I would
if
just.
the organization wasn't there
I'm a lot more
in both.
educated on it now than I
Yes.
was, because
Yeah,
I'd already had that line
okay,
to the shut off. It just-
Right.
okay, you made the motion,
And you
You
second.
seconded.
I seconded it.
Any more discussion? All those in favor of that motion, please say aye.
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 Thank you.
You
Okay,
don't have to ask
All right,
opposed,
thank you,
there's
Dale.
only 3 of us here, so,
all right.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you.
And may listen for a little bit.
Consider winter maintenance options for Briggs Hill related to the actual and impending slope failures. Do you wanna bring that up to us, Valerie, that part?
I think that with Eric there, he's in a better
No.
position to outline what the options may be for winter maintenance, including just keep on keeping on with how they've been doing it.
Val, can you take down the,
Oh, I got it.
Right. Thank you.
I got it.
Action.
Okay, go ahead, Eric, you wanna
Ian nixed you.
kind of brief the people on Zoom and in the room what, we lost some of the bank next to Briggs Hill during the July storm or August storm, I guess ours was August. July was it, or early August?
July storm. The first storm that we got in July is when we lost, section of the bank on Briggs Hill on the top.
It's made the edge of the road a little weak.
And going up the hill, it opened up the cracks that were in the road and made, about 3/4 of the way up the hill. It made the road start to settle there for probably 100 feet. So right now, in a section that's probably 20 feet long now, I think, the guardrails aren't that far above the road height. They're probably maybe a foot above, and they're supposed to be almost 3 feet, I think, to the top of the guardrail. So as far as winter road maintenance goes, we can still keep plowing it the way it is, and like we've been doing in the past. Keep an eye on it, and if things start deteriorating, which I don't think they will anymore until possibly spring when the frost comes out. But if they do, then we can make a decision on it, you know, to do something different then. But Valerie and I were talking a little bit today about it, and if you guys wanted to, and again, this is gonna be up to your decisions, but if you guys wanted to permanently close it or make it a one-way, it's not just a matter of saying, go ahead and do it. You gotta buy the signs, because the ones that I have are only set for temporary. They're not set for permanent.
Right.
So then you gotta buy a whole bunch of signs, not a whole bunch, probably 5 or 6. And then of course the barricade, if you decide to close it, it should be barricaded. And the new state rules now for barricades, you technically can't use the Jersey barriers anymore. They gotta be the plastic ones, which we don't have. So we'd be in cost of that. So my suggestion would be, at least for now, is to basically keep maintaining it the way that we are right now, unless that side, you know, drastically caves off more than what it is.
Okay. Now, Valerie and I talked about this in the last week, middle of last week sometime. And I was in Stockbridge a week ago, this past Friday night, going to Stockbridge, the Midbury football team, and I cut over from 100 over by Ted Green Ford, and cut off to 107, and they got this same situation.
Yeah.
The steep bank, the road part is started to go. You can see that it's up to the road, but the guardrails are hanging there.
Oh, yeah.
For about 50 feet. And they did a clever thing. They got 2 signs that say, be prepared to stop. And they Jersey barried around.
Well, that was the other thing I was, talking about, right there where you can see where the crack is. You could put a couple of Jersey barriers right there, right up tight against the guardrails.
Yep.
And you would pretty much only be losing about, if you put them up tight to the guardrails, you'd only be losing probably 2 feet of actual road.
Well, over there, they made it, they took
They
almost the
came out
whole,
and around.
they took out almost the whole lane, and they got a sign that says stop, and then underneath it, it says yield to oncoming traffic. And then when we
Right.
came back, they had the same sign on the other side.
The only thing with
So-
that is I wouldn't want to do it there.
No, because the hill, but my thought is, you put a sign right here, maybe, coming down the hill, that says yield to oncoming traffic. So you're going up, you don't have to stop and try to get going on that slippery steep hill. Not slippery, but steep hill.
Right.
Coming down, you can stop and always just wait for a car coming.
Not around that corner. you'd have to stop them up above that corner where it's flat.
Well, you gotta
And they
stop,
wouldn't
this
see
one you could
anything
see
though.
them, you
Right,
gotta
but
see
once
the,
you make
you
that
gotta see the
corner and You
barrier.
start pitching down, you're committed.
Yeah.
So if that road happens to be slippery at that point and there's a car going up.
Oh, they're never
around
slippery in
there,
Bristol there. Our town crew.
Absolutely not, never slippery
Never
at all,
slippery in
but
Bristol.
there's occasions.
He did say happen.
So,
You
just,
know,
I think we leave it, and we
I think we just leave it for
put the
now.
I put some barrels, maybe some orange barrels tied right to the guardrail.
Yeah, I can do that,
So they know, oh, I don't wanna rub on, I don't have to get close to the guardrails.
yeah.
And I think that would be my.
Or some teenage kid,
Right, I
I'll say, let me see if I can
Yeah,
take these
yeah,
out.
So with we talked about the Jersey barriers before, you have a little concern about just the weight of them, correct?
Well, yeah,
That
they're
we could
concrete,
lose them.
They're probably 1,500 pounds a
Yeah.
piece.
And it's
it would
sitting on
take
an already
probably 3
collapsed
of them
area.
To do that,
Yeah.
so I didn't wanna really add a lot more weight
Yeah,
than what I need to. And if we ever get winter again,
No.
and we actually get a snowbank there, the snowbank will help.
It's
Yeah.
snowing.
Oh, shush.
That is spitting, we'll call it later.
You know, if we actually get a snowbank there, that'll also help as far
Yeah.
as protection wise, as far as a car going out.
I don't wanna make it, shut it down or one way, because there's a young Brian Ledoux's house is down there, and they pick up kids there with a bus.
We
I'm
have
not
to make-
impressed with the bus going down over that hill.
No, I'm
but-
not either, but if we
but
shut it
You
down.
can't turn around in this driveway to go back up the hill.
No, that's what I'm
So it's
saying,
gotta
I
come
would
down
shut
that
the
hill.
road down just up around that corner. I would shut it off there, and then I would have to make a turnaround on that flat spot. So the bus could come down there, seesaw around, and then
Yeah.
head back up that little hill.
I would like to just try, some orange cones and keep an eye on it, right there.
Cones, you need barrels.
Orange barrels.
Yeah.
I'll
Bigger than
get some
cones.
barrels. I'll talk to the state, see if they got a few barrels I can borrow.
I don't know, there's a smushed one over by across from.
Yeah, I see that by
Isis.
Bill's.
so is it okay in terms of the state, can you just put the orange barrels there, that's fine, it's just,
It's not a
it's
state
just,
road,
It's
so.
not, yeah, sorry.
well, you talked about the state doesn't like, in terms of the signage and stuff like that, there's no issues with putting those there?
No,
It's
the
mainly
only
just
reason I
a
was
warning.
saying with the signage, it's, if you go to a more permanent solution,
Got it.
there's regulations that kick in.
Mhm.
And the same with the cement Jersey barriers, there's regulations on them now.
Right,
They
So.
gotta-
okay.
They gotta be
damage
lighted at
cars,
night or,
not breaking away and
And you're not seeing much movement?
not
In that area?
since the rain has let up. I haven't seen much more settling.
Okay,
But
Well-
I'm assuming we'll see more once the frost starts coming back out
Okay.
again next spring.
okay. I think we try, I mean, I think if you
Got
get
nothing
the
to do.
orange barrels, I think we try that
Some
first.
changes, we can always readjust.
Right,
Well, that's what I'm saying. We'll keep an eye on it and if something happens, then we'll talk about it again
Yeah.
and then readjust something.
Mhm.
okay.
Valerie, just to keep us informed, you haven't heard any more from Du Bois and King on the engineering of that, to repair that, correct?
No, but I believe that the directional bore people, I think if they haven't, they're planning to be there sometime this month to do some boring up there.
Yeah. It's all been marked out and dig safe, where
Okay.
they're gonna bore.
All right, we don't need a vote on this, right, Valerie? Just, this was more informational?
More informational, unless a very specific action was proposed, then it probably would warrant a
Right,
motion,
to close
but
the road, we need a vote, but we don't need
I
to
would
just
say so,
continue.
yeah.
Okay. Is that it, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, I'll check on with the state, with Kevin there and see if I can get a couple barrels from him.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Valerie, on that?
Nope.
Okay. Number 3, update on the Howden Hall sign replacement and consider a slight design modifications. Ian, I'll let you handle that. You've sent us an email. It's little brackets, right?
Correct. So Howden Hall, we agreed on, it was a dark green sign, originally for the lettering and for the surround. I don't know, Val, can you share that?
Yep, I'm working on that.
Okay, thanks. And I designed some brackets, which you can see here, just to be able to mount it. So the sign that's there is held in place. It's a double-sided sign. The current one that's there, it's held in place, just sort of squashed in place with wooden brackets. This is going to be a new sign. similar to the town signs, similar to the Bristol Rec Club signs, and it's aluminum, and it's gonna be double-sided, and so it makes it a little bit more difficult to hold that in place. So I've made these brackets that'll be a material that will be weather resistant, and essentially these will just mount to our wooden posts and bolt through the sign and hold it in place.
So in your email last week, this edge was originally gonna be green, this
Green.
black.
Correct.
And now it's gonna be black.
Yes, it's it's already black there now. It was a dark green because it matched the town signs.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
My feeling was that changing to black doesn't make that much of a difference. I have black material that I can make. It was just in terms of matching the color perfectly, I wouldn't be able to do that if I did these brackets. And even if we had them manufactured somewhere else, it would still be the same issue. You would see them. The idea was that the brackets kind of disappear on the sign itself.
Not seeing the bracket until tonight, I didn't realize it was a kind of a plastic.
Yeah, it's ASA, which is essentially ABS. So you can,
I thought we could paint them, but that won't hold.
no,
Over time,
it's-
you'll have to
yeah,
touch up the green bracket, so
yeah.
I don't have a big, huge look over changing it from black line to a green,
Okay.
from a green line to a black line. What about you, Michelle?
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, my only thought was, the two welcome signs aren't they green on the outside, so I was trying to see that they would
Right.
all match, but
Right.
that was my only thought, was that I wanted them all to match, but.
I feel it's because it's a different building, it's its own unique thing. We went with green initially to
Yeah.
match the signs,
Mhm.
and it was the same designers that had created this version of the sign that you see.
Yeah.
And it was always gonna be black on the bottom anyway, that bottom.
It was actually dark, it was dark
It's dark
green. It was
green.
hard to tell sometimes
Yeah.
when I presented that it was this very dark green. But if everyone's fine with doing it black, then I'll have finalize the file, and then I can create these brackets, and we'll have the posts refinished, and then we can put it in place.
No.
And so essentially the brackets they'll screw into the
Two wood.
pressure treated posts, and then the sign itself, need to do a little bit of cutting, because it's manufactured, so it's square. I'm gonna take the sign down that's there now, use that as a template to actually route the aluminum top of it, which is what I did with the town signs. So it has the curve, and then the brackets will screw on, and then the new sign will just slide in, and then we'll bolt through with some black bolts that are weatherproof.
Mhm.
So it should be a fairly simple installation.
I hate when people say that. You know what that means.
I'm just inviting
Yes,
trouble.
that's right.
I'm doing this.
Michelle, you wanna?
Do I need a motion?
Yeah.
Oh, I make a motion that we approve the sign change from black to green, or
Yeah.
green to black to match the connectors.
Okay.
Is there a second?
You have to second.
Second.
Well, no,
I
I guess you could have seconded.
Motion is second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Alrighty.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Park use application, outdoor live nativity scene at the town green, Sunday, December 10th, 12 to 5.
So moved.
That's why you're here, Nancy?
Mhm.
Fire pits?
Yeah, oh, that's all the same they had last year. I read, as long as it's all the same that was last year, I'm okay with it. Yeah,
And
so-
your layout and everything worked last year,
They
anything?
did, and we can make sure they're manned all the time too.
And this isn't the group that goes down the park, done.
No, this is a nativity
Yeah.
scene right on the
Okay.
park, they
Yeah.
don't move. from-
What was your attendance last year?
Near 200, I think.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Awesome.
They just kept going through.
Okay. Hearing none, I don't have any opposed.
Yeah.
Somebody?
I made a motion, need a second.
And I seconded it.
All right. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Consider approval of the Energy Committee's request to establish a Bristol Energy Committee Instagram page to promote information about events and energy-related information. All right.
Okay, we have Ben on from the Energy Committee, and I have a few
Everybody.
questions about this. Hi, Ben.
Sure.
Have a couple of questions.
So I have a bunch of questions. It's mainly concerning sort of who will, if we approve this, who would manage it, and what it would be, and things like that. My initial thoughts I like the idea. one idea that I had was to just have the Energy Committee use the town Instagram page. The town
Sure.
has one. No other committee or commission has any social media accounts. This would be a new thing.
Sure.
And we do have a policy, obviously, having it be select board approved, but
Right.
I don't know. My concern is because we don't have a very strong web presence that's in terms of our website. We're working on getting that updated and changed. And we don't have any main, good solid pages for the commissions and committees. To add this, it seems like we're stepping forward too much before we can update other things. And so my suggestion would be whether we could use the town account for now to be able to promote energy events. And I don't know what Val's thoughts on that, because I think you're the only one who does the town's accounts.
Right, and each of the town's social media accounts are tied to my email address and my passwords. So they would have to log in as me.
You could change the Instagram one where it was one that could be shared. It wouldn't necessarily be you, right? Can you change that?
I
Or
really
not?
don't know. I'm a newbie at all of that. I do the minimum of what can be done. My limited experience. I don't spend a lot of time fooling around with it.
No, and it's complicated too, I know. So if you've set it up with your account, and especially because Instagram is Facebook as well.
And it's a town admin account. It's representing me kind of as the town. So,
Right.
Yeah, town admin, Bristol town admin.
Okay. So Ben, what were your thoughts? Did you have a name that you wanted to use if it was approved to get a new account?
Yeah, so I think I talked to Val a little bit about it, and I did read the social media policy document. Val shared that with me, so I'm somewhat familiar with it. I'm not a town employee, right? So it gets tricky with using Val's as the official town of Bristol's account. I think there's something maybe tricky there. So, maybe the way to do it, a couple different things. We could potentially make a new email address and password that we can share the credentials with the board and whoever on the energy committee is responsible for it. And, that can kind of be a living thing where everybody has access to it, or at least the board and the committee does. But that doesn't really address your question of are we going too far with this with one particular committee? So we could potentially, I could just, when we do have events, I could just send an image to Val and say, can you post this on the town, pages? Like we could just do sort of like an informational sharing type of a thing. If we have an event like the button up event we had a couple weeks ago, or
Right.
If we do the electrical vehicle demo again, I know we're thinking about maybe doing that in the spring, something like that. I could just, feed information to Val if that is more appropriate.
I just double checked the Instagram moniker and it is Town of Bristol VTs. It's not Town Admin. That's the Facebook one. So, and also I just want to point out that the rec department has a very active Instagram presence. So they do have their own shtick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure, stuff's not going out that, boy, that was on there.
I was gonna say, that was my
So it's gonna
first
come back to
concern.
us five when it gets all done.
Right.
Who's posting?
You
What
know?
are they posting?
Yeah.
And who's gonna have control of that?
I think of when we saw the sign, that fireworks sign over Main Street,
Oh, yeah.
and underneath it said sponsored by,
All right.
and it was a business up there. I heard a lot about that. Why didn't we get our chance to get our business up there?
Yeah, the bigger sign was.
The bigger sign was
sponsored
the
by.
sponsor than the little one, fireworks,
Right.
July 3rd.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
that won't happen again.
given the limited amount of posting that you probably do, Ben, Val, would you be okay if Ben set up a post for you just with the information that you would need, so it's be an easy copy and paste?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
try that going forward and see. And then as we
Yeah.
try to reinvent the town's webpage, we can sort of look at a bigger picture in terms of how committees and commissions handle information getting out there. And maybe there's better ways to be able to put out information easily for individual committees using the town webpage perhaps and social media accounts.
Mhm.
Okay, would that be okay, Ben?
Yeah, that sounds great to me. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right.
Okay.
Do you want a motion on that, or just, is that
I
discussion
would
enough?
think we should, to say it goes through Valerie, the town's Instagram. And
Okay.
because right now they're requesting their own.
Okay, so I make a motion that we have the Energy Committee send information on their events to the town administrator for posting on the town social media accounts.
Second.
Okay, any more discussion on that?
Yeah.
David?
Sure.
So in terms of the bigger picture in the Energy Committee, we recently have purchased an electric car that has enough range for us to travel in it. And we have to get it recharged as we travel along. We recently went to Rhode Island and Albany, New York, to visit friends. So.
Oh, you're moving it, David. For the group, for me and the group.
Yeah.
You
You
and Pat
personally.
bought
You
an
person-
electric car.
Well, that's what I
thought
said. I thought you were
it was
saying the Bristol Energy Committee, and I'm
bought
like,
electric
huh?
car. And you said that, well, we.
Like, boy, you guys are making good money.
Yeah, okay, my next question was, who approved that? An electric car. Okay, go ahead, so, thank you.
So I have 5 apps on my phone that tell me where all the charge stations are, right?
Mm-hmm.
We planned where we were going based on where we could get the car charged. This community, if we want to promote our restaurants and our Christmas shopping and our bed and breakfast, if we want to promote that kind of business in our community, we need a fast charger, at least one. Did you see where Frontier Town was putting in 27 chargers? Now, we don't need that. But, you know, a few
The Energy Committee is working on that.
would
And we've
have,
approved our
it would
plan for
bring
that.
people to this community.
Yeah, they're definitely on, I'm on the email chain with that. It's a grant application by the state. They've opened that up again. So we're on there. We've just received, or the Energy Committee has just received information about the charges. It's not going to be level 3 because of the complexities of getting the power needed over to the location that we're looking at, and also because of the size of the charges and the infrastructure that needs to be going in. These will be level 2, but they're a higher level of charge, so it's a faster charge than what most level 2 chargers are. So hopefully it's a good point that we can start off with having them in the Bristol community.
So I would hope it was a fast charger because it makes
I know.
a world of difference.
I know.
It really does.
I know. I'd like to see that too, but
Level 2 chargers should be at all the B&Bs
right.
because you're gonna stay overnight and that's what you need if you're gonna use a level 2 charger. If you're traveling and you're gonna do shopping or have dinner, something like that, you need to get charged in 20 minutes or a half hour.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to have the Energy Committee to go through Val with the Instagram. Correct? Ian,
Yeah.
what you,
Yeah.
all those in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Okay.
Great. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank
Consider
you.
appointment to Jessica Teets to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee.
And
Brad.
Cameron.
And
Brad.
Black Cameron.
First, I guess a couple of questions. How did they figure out that do we need more? Number one. And we have people that does everybody in town know they needed members on that committee? Or any committee that we're looking for? How do they find that out? Or it seems like some of these committees are selected, appointed.
Well, right now, it is posted on the website that there are 2 vacancies on the.
Okay, so we'll point to Jimmy Quaguino. I know he listens in on those. If he wanted to get on the committee, he knew about that and get on the committee. Or at least apply. He could be the third one. He could be 6B, so to speak. I'm just not picking Jimmy to.
Sure, anybody who looks on the website would see there's vacancy and
Okay,
can
that's what I
apply.
want to make sure.
Right.
I mean, Jimmy attends those meetings more than the members of the committee attend those meetings. So that's saying something on Jimmy. So, yeah.
No, I'm just
It's
saying, I just
that
want to make
particular-
sure everybody
That
knows.
particular committee, unfortunately, since its instigation, has struggled with
Okay,
Keeping
membership and attendance. And so Chris, who's the chair, has had a very hard time actually getting things done and getting things voted.
okay.
So they've had some committee members leave, and it's just because of the existing committee members, their schedules, it's just been very difficult for them over the last year.
Okay.
So they have a couple of people. Jessica, obviously, she was involved in the ad hoc committee
Right.
before it was the
Jessica
official
was.
one, and now she's interested. And Brad's a board member of Bristol Core. And he's been a good board member there.
Okay.
So I'd
I
be
just
fine
wanted
with
to make
that.
sure the
Sure.
entire public also knew that, oh yeah, there was a,
Yeah, I believe,
All the
I could-
vacancies, I think, are on the
yeah,
website.
they're on the website, and also I think Chris has been posting on Front Forum and things like that, so yeah.
okay,
And as you can see from the screen, if you can see it there, one term expires in March 2024 and the other one is March 2025.
okay,
So it'll be up for reappointment come March of 2024,
Yeah.
one of them.
Yeah.
okay. I'd entertain a motion then.
I make a motion that we approve Jessica Teets and Brad Cameron to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee.
No, second.
Do you have preferences on which term for which person?
No, they can fight it out.
Or thumb wrestle?
You
Yeah.
pick,
Yeah.
heads, tails, whatever,
Okay.
flip a coin. Okay, any more discussion? Not hearing any, all those in favor, please say aye.
Bye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, review and potential.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica and Brad. Review and a potential approval of an updated zoning administrator's job description.
Yeah, so as I mentioned in my notes, this was not necessarily a planned initiative, but with the resignation of the treasurer and the fact that our current zoning administrator, which is a part-time position, is also serving as the assistant treasurer and assistant clerk, it's become a pretty full plate. And the thought occurred to me to at least put it out to bid or advertise the position and see what kind of response we get. And depending on the number and quality of candidates that we receive, consider whether Chris just focuses on the assistant treasurer and clerk duties and free the zoning up for somebody else, or what. But just to explore what our options are. But in order to do that, we needed to update the description because the original description was based upon a full-time position with other duties that didn't even include the E911 coordinator, and it was intended to be zoning, planning, and economic development. And so the economic development component has not been a factor in over the last 6 years.
Well, I think the first part of that thing you said was we needed to crack first is it in the budget, or could we put it in the budget or do we need to put it in the budget to increase the hours? Right now, we're a part-time zoning administrator, 20 hours a week.
Right.
Maybe things are falling through the cracks because there's just not enough time. Not even saying because of April 1st or middle of April, he agreed to be our assistant treasurer and clerk. So he'd have a 40-hour week, but maybe we ought to look at, is 20 hours enough? I don't know.
In the past, over the past 6 years, it appeared to have been enough. Given the level of activity and the types of activity, that the more complicated types of applications weren't that common, as far as I understand it. And in fact, some weeks were less than 20 hours of what was actually paid out. So, and perhaps that's something that can evolve. Depending on if we find a qualified candidate and depending on what that qualified candidate brings to the table, we can consider adjustments.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the discussions we've had in the past, 20 hours seems to be fine for the amount of work that Chris was doing. I think it's just because he also took on new responsibilities and a new position. It's now, I think, becoming more difficult, given those new responsibilities.
But before April, he gave up because he knew he couldn't do all four. He was part-time Starksboro and part-time Moncton.
Right.
So then he agreed to take on the assistant treasurer and clerk's job.
Right.
He gave those two towns up. So he had 40 hours before April anyway, of two other towns, adding them all up. And
so what are the main things, Val, what are the main things you've changed in terms of, I mean, it's quite a much longer, your draft is much longer than the original job description. You're fleshing out certain areas and removing others, is that correct?
I tried to have it reflect more of the present expectations and configurations. One distinction that's different, the current one, the 2017 version, was planning or zoning and planning director. And at that time, again, it was a full-time position. And there was also an assistant zoning administrator or deputy zoning administrator. So that person was intended to supervise somebody else. So in that sense, it made sense to call it a director. But I chatted with Chris about it today, and we both feel that it's probably more appropriate for the level and scope of the position to continue using the term administrator. So zoning and planning administrator. And whether we tack on the E911 coordinator in the title or just wrap it into the description as it is in there, and just simplify it that way.
For the
Zoning and planning
E911
administrator.
For the E911, if the zoning and planning director didn't, or administrator didn't do that position, whose responsibility would that be?
In the past, it was the lister's office, but it makes a lot more sense that it be in the planning and zoning function because they're so closely related. Well, in terms of assigning new E911 addresses to new development and bringing to our attention requests for new street names and that kind of thing. They're very closely related.
Okay.
And I think it was a distraction. I think earlier in prior times, it was more of a distraction for the listers.
Yeah, and if I remember right, when he had not so much Chris had an assistant, but when Eric was here, maybe, and before that was the assistant zoning administrator really did more of the enforcement part, made sure things were the enforcement part.
Okay.
And I think maybe that's where we're lacking right now, some enforcement, because he's been too busy with only doing it 20 hours.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think it's all, it's enforcement demands are unpredictable. Hopefully none is needed. Everything's humming along smoothly. You really can't anticipate when something's going to come up. And so I don't know how to address that.
So right now, the position is budgeted. It's a half-time position. And if we wanted to do what Joel suggested in terms of adding those hours, it's something that we need to look at going forward and for our budget season coming up.
I was thinking maybe 5 hours, at least 5 hours, but I don't know if it's needed yet, but I just want to answer that question before.
Right.
Well, your E911, you only need when you have a new address. a new
Yeah,
house.
I don't believe that's been very demanding.
No, I'm not saying that
Right.
pushed it over, no.
No, okay.
Okay. But we want to discuss that.
Right. I'd like to maybe not so much postpone this, but we all look over the job description and then when Peter and Darrell are back in 2 weeks or 3 weeks now.
Well,
Yeah, there isn't.
Right.
why don't we postpone it, get Darla and Peaker's input and ask Chris to join us in the discussion.
Okay.
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 Yeah, that's fine.
That's good.
So we'll table this.
Anybody, I was gonna say, I think somebody's here that
Right.
wants to talk.
I think we have a lot of comments we want to make.
Sure.
Well, maybe the comment should be postponed until we get a bigger group here. But I was just wanted to say, the zoning administrator's job description consists of a number of bullets, like 18.
Do you have the new one, the newest version, the draft that Val just did, or do you have the old version?
It only got posted late this afternoon
Okay.
to the
Is it
website.
one you sent out email?
The one
Yeah.
that came by Sharon this afternoon.
Yeah, so you have
Yeah,
that
it probably
one.
would be, yeah.
Do you have the latest one?
You guys are seeing
Which
something I
is,
haven't
it's like
seen.
three pages now, is that correct?
4
4
pages.
pages.
You guys are seeing something that I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, the one that's on the website from earlier is the original one from 2017
Yeah,
for comparison.
Did you say that there's now 4 pages?
correct.
Yeah, it's 4 pages.
This is what Sharon said
So the-
at 3 o'clock.
I think the one that you're looking at is probably, if it's 2
Yeah,
pages,
This
it's the
is the old,
original.
this is the old one, yeah, this is the one in 2017.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
why, so let's,
So-
I
Let's
think we-
hold your comments, let's get you the
Yeah.
new one, because we may have answered some of your concerns
Well,
or
let me
comments.
just make one point.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
In the old one, with 18 bullets,
Mhm.
I assumed that there would be, the reference would be the zoning administrator's handbook, October 2005. Was that a reference for?
There is now. It is there now.
Okay, I guess I'll have to see it because the old one only has about one duty out of 11 that are in the zoning administrator's handbook. So I think the one that I have is a little incomplete.
Yes.
Okay,
Totally agree with that. Yeah.
okay,
And included things that aren't relevant to what the position is now.
right. Okay.
Valerie, can you tell us what the changes are, the main changes are in the new one, since we didn't
It's
get that?
It's completely rewritten.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing who's talking. I can email it to whoever wants it.
I'm Linda Andrews
Linda,
Okay.
Yeah, Linda's.
and Randy Duran
Okay,
and Dave Sharp.
okay. I'll email that right now.
I'd also like one to Sally Burrell, if you'd be
Okay.
willing.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Val, you sent that to us, board members, this afternoon?
I did.
Because I haven't checked my email yet
Oh,
since 1 o'clock, since I left my office at 1. And I haven't checked my home one yet.
okay.
Linda, go ahead, Linda.
I just wondered if you wanted to have comments so make sure that it's in the new one before you have to relook at it. That the concerns you had with the old one, or,
I think that she might have answered, like,
Yeah.
Michelle said, they may be in, and said, oh, that was already answered. You, I mean, you're more than welcome to
Yeah.
speak, but I think we'll put this off until the 11th and do it with Chris in here, and with the new, and then you guys you'll have 4 weeks from tonight to really digest it all.
Well, the next meeting is the 27th.
Oh, excuse me, the 27th, I'm sorry, Michelle.
Now, Darla might not be available, but Peeker should be.
Darla won't be here.
And also too, on that date, it's not that we're approving that description.
Right.
We're still looking at it, and so
Discussing.
we welcome public comment.
Right.
So I think it's probably best, if it's okay with you guys, to come back if you're available, having looked at the draft that Val's put together, the 4-page document, make comments on that, bring them to us at the next meeting while we discuss it.
Okay. Does one of the 4 pages of the draft consist of the revised zoning application?
Not specific.
Because I'd like to be able to comment about that, because that's lacking a few things as well.
You mean the actual zoning permit application?
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not part of the zoning administrator's job description.
No, that would need to be, if we
That's
wanted to
something
look at that, that would be a
It'd be
separate
something
agenda
different.
item.
And that might be, correct me if I'm wrong, it might be under the planning rules of planning commission for the application.
I'm not
Actually,
sure.
that's been more of an administrative function. I don't believe the select board or the planning commission or DRB have had any
Years I've been on.
role to play in the content of the zoning permit application.
So how would that, if there are public comments on that and concerns, how would we,
Well, you
how would
can-
you address that?
It can be put on the agenda.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay,
Select board can.
Yeah, there's certainly nothing preventing that. I'm just saying that there's not a protocol for that. There's
Okay.
not a requirement that changes be approved by the select board or the planning commission. Or the
Okay.
I mean, it certainly
So-
can be, the input and guidance and recommendations are always welcome.
okay. So you could come to the public meeting and we could have it on the agenda, or you could email Val privately and have your comments.
If you can't make it on the 27th, you're more than, all
Yeah.
of you are more than welcome to send your emails to
Yeah, I'd
Valerie.
like to see it on the agenda.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
This
Any
same
other-
thing, the job description with a new job description, or
No, he's talking about the permit application
permit
itself.
application.
Yeah, okay.
so, I mean, I'm really a neophyte on this, but I'm concerned about just the permit, where you post it so that everyone can see it and the neighbors are all informed and that kind of thing. I don't know.
That's a planning commission, because they're the ones that revamp the regs. So that's not the zoning administrator's
Okay.
job to say where it is. That's the planning commission who creates the policy and procedures for the zoning regs to say, these are the requirements and this is where it has to be. So that's not specifically Chris's job. He follows what the zoning regs say.
Who puts them up and who?
The planning commission.
No, I think she's asked Linda, you're asking who puts it up on the house.
but that where it's visible.
Right.
You don't have
Visible.
to
Yeah,
walk
that's
around and
just-
see what
right.
window they're in, you know,
It's-
it's like
Yeah.
really visible, and every single neighbor around is informed and approves that, yes, this is fine.
So Val, is that correct? Is it the planning
Planning
commission that would, the discussion would have to be brought to them, or is that can be another administrative thing similar to the zoning application?
I can tell you it's in the planning commission because it's in the regulations. It tells you that you have to post it for 15 days or whatever it is in a visible location. It doesn't give you specifics. And there's no
Right.
requirement to notify the adjoining landowners.
And I think the only visual, it has to face the street.
I
Right.
don't remember, I'd have to look it back up, but I know
I
it's.
mean, I didn't know
it's
my
in-
neighbors were building in
Right,
the
I,
backyard and building up.
I would definitely like to see that, looked at.
I mean,
I
I personally
think
would
we
like to
could
see,
update that.
to, Linda, don't, correct me if I'm wrong, I would like to see, if we can put out, deal with, not real estate signs, if we can deal with, you know, next September, we'll begin to see political signs for 6 months. I'd like to see those stands right out by the road that they've got a permit to build.
One option is to increase the permit.
Go
One
on.
option is to increase the permit application fee and the town provide the kind of placard that you're describing, Joel, with a stake and a thing that somebody plops right in their front yard, right on the edge of the sidewalk or whatever. And it's a uniform presence that everybody would recognize over time. But that would be a device that the town purchases that the applicant would have to pay for as part of the application process.
I mean, we've all seen those, hold on, Jimmy, we've all seen those wire bars with a thing in it. You know, you poke it in the ground and you put your
Right.
application, you know, the big Z right there.
Well, kind of like a real estate sign, sort of.
Correct, right.
The metal frame and you pop in the
I'm not
message.
talking about one of those metal frames like that one, but.
Right. Yeah, real estate sign frame with the thing.
What's that?
They are posted out there, but not everybody comes in and knows.
I mean, if I didn't come here every Monday night.
But they're not posted,
You
so
know,
there's no
That's
problem.
great.
I never come in.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this to the planning commission because I had those concerns. I said, you know, these are the two things. I think, you know, adjoining landowners should be notified, and I think the signs need to be more visible. You know, we need to be specific. So, I mean, it's something that, and I didn't say that as a select board member, I said that as my own personal. And I don't know that they've dealt with it in this next revision that they're working on. But if you have concerns about that, that goes to the planning commission. That really does, because Chris does. And the zoning administrator has no control over that.
And their next public hearing is November 21 on a Tuesday. And that'll be their final public hearing on the bylaw amendments that they are currently considering. And that same week, they will be finalizing their recommended revisions and forwarding that to the select board for the select board to then begin their public hearing process. So I'm expecting that the select board will be receiving the official transmittal from the planning commission very soon after that November 21 public hearing.
Yeah, I would suggest you guys go to that if you have something to say.
Jimmy, yeah, Jimmy, you had a question?
I do.
Hold on.
The state has made new rulings, and the planning board has been working on
Right.
the whole revision of everything. So Kevin Hansen has been posting stuff on the front porch forum. So if you want it right directly from the horse's mouth, contact Kevin Hansen.
Yeah.
And I think he might even had a link to the drafts on front
There's
porch
quite a
forum,
few changes and revisions that they've been working on.
but just specific
Yeah.
areas that they're in, yeah.
David, you had a question?
Well, just to follow up on that, you know, I was at the last planning commission meeting and Kevin indicated that, what's going to be presented on the 24th is pretty much done. That, you know, unless there was something drastic that came up, the draft would, as it was presented the other night, would be what was presented to you guys.
Mhm.
Okay.
I don't expect the planning commission to make any changes between now and then. They may, but just based on the comments of the chair. What I was gonna say is looking at, and I realize I'm looking at the old job description. I don't know how different the new one is. It's a massive job. It's not surprising to me that, you know, proper, administration of the
zoning permits has not occurred over the last number of years. In fact, I was on the first planning commission that wrote the first zoning regs for the town of Bristol. It was in the 70s sometime. And Andrew Johnson and Terry Thomas, myself, Sue Hawkins, and a couple other members, I think, but I don't recall their names. Ever since that time, I think the planning commissions have done a reasonably good job of putting forward a plan for the town, a visionary plan of how our town is going to grow. And it's been followed by a set of zoning regulations. Unfortunately, the sort of attitude in the town has been go for it. And so there have been any number of houses built in floodplains and buildings built for commercial purposes in residential areas. And so I got involved in the more recent discussions, partly because of the Bazers neighbors issue with regard to that, a small decades-long issue on my road. And you know, the more I began to talk to people, the more I heard about, you know, permits being issued that had flaws, that shouldn't have been issued. And the comment at the planning commission meeting really bothered me when it was discussed by one of the presenters that there was an RA2 district, I think, that was in a floodplain. You know, so theoretically, our zoning permit allowed a house to go in the floodplain. That seemed absurd to me, and a member of the planning commission also said, don't worry about that because they have to get a flood permit, and so we don't have to worry about it if they get a permit from the town to build in there, because they'll be stopped by the state people. And that's, those are the sorts of things that we have as a community. Many select boards, many zoning administrators, many members of our community have, it's the Wild West, you know, go for it. And
ask for forgiveness later. Build it now and give it,
yeah.
plead stupid later and ask for forgiveness.
How egregious do these improperly constructed, improperly zoned facilities have to be built before it gets bad enough that we actually decide as a community that the plan is good, the zoning regs are good, and they should be properly enforced. And I think, you know, that's on your shoulders, it's on the administration's shoulders, and all of us in the community to say, you know, it's time. Development has gotten sophisticated enough and impactful enough that we need to actually, you know, pay attention to our zoning regulations and live by them.
Okay, all right. So Val, we're gonna put this to the next meeting?
Yep.
And the job description and everything. Okay, so we're not gonna vote on that, so, okay, we'll flip the page and go to number 8. Thank you though for everybody for your discussions. Consider grant application authorization request from the Hub Teen Center for the Vermont Prevention Lead Organizational. I believe this is a grant they want to get, and you gave us.
No matches required.
No matches required. I like those, no match required.
Okay, I have a question. Do you know what these funds will specifically be used for? I mean, I understand what the grant is for, but do you know what the hub is going to be doing specifically with these funds?
I don't.
I mean, in what dynamic or what dynamic are they looking at? Are they looking at school age kids? Are they looking at high school kids? Are they looking at anybody?
I do not know the specifics. Taylor was online a short time ago, but she's not on right now.
I mean, because that's $50K. I mean, I understand there's no match, but it's like, okay, so what kind of funds and education are we?
I mean, the description is to increase community capacity to deliver meaningful substance misuse prevention. That's a very broad sentence.
You think?
Would you approve this and ask Taylor to explain later on? Would you prefer to have more explanation about it before
I mean,
approving?
I'm concerned about having 50K around to be used for this and not really know,
Okay.
specifically what they're gonna be doing with that money.
What's the deadline, does it say?
Yeah.
The deadline
Yeah.
is November 22nd.
So we
And I
gotta
don't have
approve it.
Taylor's cell number to be able to text her to ask her to hop on.
I mean, I guess I could approve it, but I would really like to have some
Yeah, a
more
little bit more
description
detail.
of what they're gonna be using this money for, what their plans are,
Yeah.
what kind of education, what dynamic, what
It's
age,
not
what,
a-
whatever.
I think, do I read the board here and say it's not for another position, it's not a temporary position or?
Well, we don't have enough information, so I can't answer that.
Right.
Hey Taylor, hey, you wanna jump back on Zoom? They got some questions for you on your grant.
Look at that,
Okay.
man on the, Johnny
I
on the
know.
spot.
I can
Johnny on the
He's
spot.
on the select board here.
Did he just call Taylor?
Yes,
Yeah,
he did.
I
How
thought.
about you have her cell?
you don't need to know.
I was just about to text Meredith to text her.
Matter of fact, I think I have it, Taylor's, when I have to go over and sand or plow.
That's what I got it for, when I went over to move a
I got
shed.
Eric Coda here.
All right, well, we'll see if she comes
She could
on.
just call in too.
Yes,
I
that's
mean, she
true.
could have called in and.
Yeah.
We'll just pause for a second.
Do you want to sign?
Oh, yeah. Well,
We don't have her.
Yeah, while we're waiting here, so.
There she is.
There she is.
There she is.
Yeah.
Hey, Taylor.
Too long.
You're muted.
Hi, Taylor, you're muted.
Hi, sorry.
Hi, Taylor. Michelle's got a few questions on your grant. It's.
For sure.
on-
Yeah. I was just asking, what are you specifically using the funds for? How are you planning it? What kind of education, what dynamic, age, are they school age kids, anybody?
Yeah, so the goal is going to be for, I'm going to apply for it. We're going to see how it goes. The funds are going to be focused on staffing primarily.
New staffing?
Yes, well, so right now it's myself and Jackie. Zach has pivoted to mostly recreation department. So I would like to bring on another person, so the funds will support that, at least in the short term. So there'll be this round of funding that goes till June, and then in March, we can apply for another round of funding through the same source. So they'll be without interruption. I won't be applying for all $50,000 of it. It'll just be, since I don't know exactly how much I'm applying for yet, it'll be that. So the goal is going to be for support of drug prevention by way of our general activities at the hub. So hub is first peer prevention, meaning like the space itself and kids utilizing the space leads to lower rates of drug use. So
this
we
isn't
are
really new programming. This isn't really new programming. This is already existing programming. You're just looking for the staff to help run that. existing
and then
program.
also bringing on that staff and trying to get them to bring on new programming, but I don't know what it's going to be. But yeah, we're trying to just increase our capacity so that we can continue to support the youth, because we've been seeing between like 25 and 40 kids a day at the hub.
Okay,
So we're
specifically the high school kids that are coming, mostly the high school kids that are coming in there.
yes.
Yeah.
And we're seeing annually around 300 kids use the space.
So
So
your grant
just trying.
application is for 50K. You said you're not asking for
Right,
50K. so-
We're not asking for 50K. No, I told Frida to submit it for 50K because I'm like, I don't know how much it is yet. So just submit it, because that way if I ask for, more than 15,000, then it won't be like I've asked for more than you guys approved.
Okay.
All right.
So, Taylor, you said for staff, so
Yep.
does, whatever you get, is that how many hours? Does benefits start with that? Where do the benefits come out of that? Or
So
is
it'll
that
be
a
only for
town
20
function?
hours. 20
So no
hours,
benefits.
no benefits. Yeah. And the whatever we do have to pay, we will account for that in the grant. So I think if we pay them at 18 hours, I think that's actually the actual cost of that is like $20 an hour to the town. So we would bill for that. Like we would account for that.
Okay, so they're gonna be an employee of the town,
Yes.
but with no benefits. I guess that's a slippery slope to go down, because, you know, as it grows, or, I mean, we're already looking, people, to put on, and it's not on the agenda tonight, because 2 board members aren't here, and we didn't have quite enough information, I believe. Valerie, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're looking at possibly a
Community services.
community service person for the police department, be townwide.
Mhm.
And other things, so.
Well, this is a grant funded position. If they don't get.
I just wanna make sure.
If they don't get the grant in the March, then they're not, that person's
Right, this
not gonna have a
person just
job.
walks then, right? This person.
Yes, correct,
There's no
yeah.
commitment.
Yes.
I just wanna make sure.
Similar to other positions that the rec department have hired over the years for the hub.
Okay,
So.
I just wanna make
yeah,
sure that
it's a-
we're
Yeah, it's
cool
a
with it.
temporary. It's not a new,
Yeah.
new
You know,
position.
If this thing works out and this is really great and blah, 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 and I hope it is, get me wrong.
Yeah.
I hope it is, and then we don't get it in March and
Right.
say, well, we really think we need to keep this person and we're gonna still fund it. And can we fund it through taxpayer dollars and not a grant, because we didn't get the grant.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's up to, you know, even if that was what they were planning, we would still discuss that in budget time anyway. They would, the rec department would bring that to us, but it sounds like that isn't the case for this. It would just be a grant funded position, and that would be the understanding.
Yes. And which we've like successfully maintained for a period for like many years also.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Great.
okay,
Thank you, Taylor.
thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you need me
I
to
make
stay
a
on?
motion-
No,
No,
all good. Thank
Okay.
you.
I make a
Great,
motion,
thank
we allow the rec department or the hub to apply for the grant.
Second.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, consider appointment or selection of individuals to serve on a new local hazardous mitigation plan update committee. I served on that Peter and I were on that a number of years ago, and 5 years ago, wasn't it, Valerie? And we did this once before. Seemed like just a few years ago we did this, but
I know, time flies.
yeah, and you're not having fun.
Yeah, I don't recall exactly who was on it last time, 5 years ago, 5, 6 years ago.
No, it
But
was
the
Peter,
recommendation
it was,
is for one or more representatives from the Select Board, Public Works, Fire Department, Planning Commission, Conservation Commission, our water and sewer people, the Regional Planning Commission, and a member of the public. That's a pretty good sized group. Had a meeting this morning on a similar topic, and Andrew LaRoe at the Regional Planning Commission agreed to participate, and Kristen Underwood with the Conservation Commission, who was on it last time, also would like to be involved for the Conservation Commission. Would any
Okay.
member of the Select Board be interested?
Not me. I think we select Darla or Beaker.
There we go.
I was on last time, but they won't do it, I will do it, but
Yeah.
I was on last time. And I know Eric is already automatic on it.
Well, he could put one of his boys.
Public Works.
Can't you put one of your
Pete was
boys?
on it last time, I remember, it was 5 years
Well,
ago.
it can be depending on the snow, at least this time of year.
Right.
I
So,
don't mind being on it as long as, you know, weather permits me to go to the meetings. Other than that, I don't mind being on it. That's fine.
How often are the meetings?
well, he said there weren't gonna be that many.
Probably two, maybe three,
Two, maybe
altogether.
three, an hour each,
Yeah.
A
is
week?
what he said.
No. No. Because presumably the consultant is going to do more of all the work, and the committee is going to be more of a sounding board, and also just as a resource for that person to, share or put local knowledge on the table for that person to work with.
Yeah, and I would say, I would let Brett decide whether it's him or one of
Yeah.
his,
Right.
one of his assistant chiefs.
Yeah.
Planning commission, I would have Kevin decide.
Are you okay, or would you prefer to have one of your other employees do it?
The only other one that would have any knowledge would be Mike.
So Eric will be doing it.
Pretty much, so, I mean, he's got the knowledge.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, never mind, anyways.
Okay.
Yeah, so if it's only gonna be 2 or 3 meetings, as long as the weather permits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't mind being on.
Absolutely.
Okay,
I mean, the plan's in place, it's just a matter of,
Yes.
updating it,
updating the
right,
plan, yeah.
right.
It's not like
Yeah, we're
we
not-
have to rewrite the whole thing.
Yeah, we're not doing it from scratch.
Are they, Val, do you know if the meetings are at night, Eric asked?
If they're what?
At
At
night?
night,
I think they can be whenever it works best for most people. And
3
my
o'clock.
guess is that would mean during the day.
Eric's
Eric
putting
says,
his time.
Eric says 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Works for me.
That might be. That might be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you
Okay.
think Peeker would do it?
Joel said he'd do it,
If he figured one, I'll talk with Peeker.
yeah.
All right,
We'll leave
Okay.
it to
Tell you
Joel.
guys he ain't here, that's what happens when you're not at a
There
meeting.
you go.
okay. All right, any other discussion on that?
And I'll put
Any
the,
ideas for member of the public?
yeah, I'll send a
Any more?
note out to the planning commission and, I'll, a member of the public, I'll see if anybody from the, I'll put something in the front porch forum to see if anybody from the public
What
wants.
about Bristol Rescue? What about Will? You think he should be on this? Will from Bristol Rescue?
Somebody from Bristol Rescue should be.
Should be.
Yeah.
Okay,
What about you, Dal?
and them too.
You're still here. There's
Yeah,
something,
why are
there's
you
something
still
keeping
here?
you here.
Yeah.
The meeting is so
It
riveting.
was this.
Listen to me. I run for select board.
Okay,
Okay, so we don't need a motion on that, right?
I don't think so. As
You're gonna
long-
bring it back to
consensus,
us later anyway.
right, so there, as long as there's consensus.
Yep, we're consensed.
Okay. So number 10, we're gonna postpone that.
Yes, please.
And listers 10A is letter for the errors and
Emailed that out
omissions.
this morning.
I don't think I saw that.
Okay, so you need a motion to accept that letter?
Wait a minute. I don't think I saw that.
it's there.
Was it on the,
The screen.
No, I think Val emailed.
oh, okay. Then I
Because I
just
didn't
saw
check
it.
my emails after 1 today.
Oh, check, just- Oh, because he has a business there.
2 properties,
Yeah, it's 2 properties? It's one?
two,
oh,
it's
I
2
see.
pages, so
separate
there's
properties.
one, I put it up on the screen, there's that one. And then there's this one. Where two things were combined on this parcel.
Well, this is kind of just boilerplate, it's just, we approved they've done their errors and omissions, they have to do this statement for the state every
Right.
year before December 31st.
Just means something changed then that they didn't
Yeah.
have, so, okay,
Okay,
yep.
somebody will make a
Make a
motion.
motion to approve the listers errors and omissions report.
Second.
There's a motion and a second, any more questions on that, Valerie, or anything? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. 11, review and approval of the September 25th, October 16th, and October 30th meeting minutes.
So
Michelle?
Val, I've already seen the 25th and 16th, right? Is the 30th the only one I haven't seen? that the one you just
Well,
sent
it was
today?
it was emailed out today, earlier this morning, I believe.
October 30th, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The
that's
other
one I
ones were
haven't
distributed weeks ago.
I'll make a motion to approve September 25th and October 16th with any changes we've submitted.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion, and I read them and I didn't see anything significant, so. There's a motion and a second to approve 25th of September and the October 16th meeting minutes. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll look at October 30th and send you my comments.
Okay, authorized accounts payable.
So wait, so it's the October 30th are being postponed till the next meeting?
Right.
Yes.
Okay,
Correct.
just checking.
Authorized accounts payable warrants and any liquor license or tobacco license. Payables are $413,805.13.
And there's no liquor license.
And there's no liquor licenses or tobacco. Okay. I just have one on VTUM's bill for all of
Right.
Pine Street. That's
Right.
going towards the project, right? Not coming out of the water budget.
It's coming out of their contracted services budget. Jill has laid out that it fits within the budget. And what the rationale in this instance was that if she billed it to the loan, well, first of all, the state, the DWSRF folks, because it was not included in the original loan application and an original, it's very cumbersome at this point to retroactively add her into the loan
But why
structure.
did we do that in the beginning?
We didn't know.
We need to get better, we need to put a buffer in there or something the next time we do. I mean, we're gonna do some more streets in 2 more years and then some more streets in 4 more years.
Right, and we're doing that for the next phases where we are anticipating this. We did not anticipate the level of work that was required this time around. It kind of took us a little bit by surprise. And as Jill laid out in her explanation, if we made it part of the loan, the program, we would have gotten 50% forgiveness and would have needed to pay 2% interest on the rest. This way, she's giving the town the 50% discount off the top. And therefore, we're just paying it straight out without any kind of interest that we would be paying on a loan.
Okay.
Wait a minute, you said she's giving us 50% off?
Right, because
So
it's
this
really,
bill is-
it's twice that amount, what they actually put in. But they gave us a 50% discount to account for the 50% forgiveness we would have gotten through the loan program. But this way, we're not paying 2% interest through a loan. And it fits within the contracted services budget.
Okay.
Well, we still gotta go until June 30th too.
Right.
We still got 7 months to go, 7.5, 8 months to go. Okay, that's my only question on that. So,
No, that's a good question.
all right, select board roundtable. Oh, Ian, let me start with you.
I'm good, thanks.
You gotta make a motion for the warrants, not to interrupt you.
We don't have,
No.
we don't do that. We just.
Oh, you don't have to do that
We're on the agenda to pay them.
Oh, cool. Tell that was my board.
Michelle?
I just have a question, I don't know if Bruce is on here. I had this conversation, I think, with Meredith, and I don't know if she talked to, there's a van that parks the back of the Park Street, and it's for a school, I think. But it's been parked there, and it's parked there overnight, and I think they take it during the day to pick up school. And I said, Brooke something or other. But
Yeah, we know.
it's parked there all night long.
We noticed that van. We're working on advising them that they can't leave it parked there overnight. So that's
Okay,
being addressed.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
That's all I have.
Okay, I just have a couple of things. One thing, we haven't heard much about, how's the new appraiser going, Valerie, or whatever we call, contract,
Right.
how's that going?
I checked in with the listers about that recently, and they haven't needed to use him an awful lot, except on some complicated commercial projects. And they're working with him in a way right now, coming up with an RFP for the reappraisal services. He has to limit his involvement in reviewing or drafting an RFP because he doesn't want to disqualify himself from being able to bid on it. So the listers are working on that RFP, and I think we'll be seeing more very soon. But so far, they've been they have found him to be very helpful and instructive.
Okay, I know, talking to Mark, that's why Mark asked me about, I wrote an RFP for when we did your reappraisal in 93.
Yeah.
And I gave him some hints to what to put in it, so,
Yeah, I
okay.
think Mark has pretty much drafted one already. He's looking at a couple more examples that he recently received, but they're in the home stretch of being able to put something together for our review.
Okay. And
So
then-
are we only paying the appraiser by hour that they work? Because for some reason, I
Correct.
thought it was a specific
I thought it
amount.
was
We set
Hourly.
the amount
You set it.
based on the hourly rate.
Okay.
based on an hourly rate. And then another thing and I wish the other two board members are here, but it's gonna be budget season here, and they're probably working on budgets right now, right, Eric? You're working on budgets?
Oh, absolutely.
Is,
I'm not gonna.
some towns, some select boards do it, is we put a cap. Like, you know, let's say we don't wanna see the budget increase over 5%. Or something. What's that for an idea? Just throwing it out on the table. 'Cause, and I don't know what that cap is yet, but just,
Have we ever done that in the past?
no. You know, we've let them come in and then we just do their dog and pony show and show us their budget, and sometimes we cut at the end of the night or the end of before January, that magical day in January when we gotta go to print by the next day. And Valerie puts it in her computer and she says, you're looking at this much of a tax increase, or you're looking at this much of a tax increase. And we always kid with Peter, he brings the fire axe in and starts cutting some more if we don't, but it seemed like the last few years we haven't been cutting a lot.
I can tell you that this is going to be probably the most challenging budget year that I will have ever experienced, because we are seeing increases in every direction. And in our operational budgets, we're seeing increases in tonight's in your packet on the website and under other business. Another example of VLCT raising their rates again, and a lot of the social service organizations are going to be submitting petitions for increased allocations. And in fact, one question that's out there right now, and I don't know the answer to it, we're trying to figure out what the best approach is on that specific thing, is when the social services folks want to increase a certain amount above their regular allocation. You know, their accustomed to say getting $10,000 a year, but they want to increase it, say, to 22. So if they have to petition to increase it, do they petition for just that additional 12,000 and preserve that 10? Or do they have to petition for the 22 and risk losing everything if the petition fails? If voters, because one risk I see, it's been kind of fluid these recent years under COVID versus, you know, how the social services get voted on, whether as a batch or individually, because we did it a couple of years where they were each individual and voters voted each one, or are they grouped? But there might come a point between the municipal increases, just operational increases, and all of the other increases from the other organizations. Voters might say no, no, no. And or at least in some instances, and in those cases that the organizations might lose, you know, if that petitioned amount gets voted down, do they lose just that increment or everything? So I'm not sure if I'm being clear, but that's
I understand.
I would think that it's the full amount. I don't think you can grandfather.
Preserve the 10.
Yeah, I don't think you can grandfather in an amount. I think if you're asking additional money, you're asking for the entire amount.
Right, because otherwise it's not clear to the voters whether you're asking for 10, 12, or 22.
And the voters then don't have any, right, they don't have as much say in terms of the decision of that. If a certain amount is being preserved, then are the voters only voting on that additional one? What about if they don't want to vote on the original amount?
Right.
I think it has to be for the full thing. And we've talked about this before when we've done the Australian ballot, and I raised that question too, is it possible for things to be voted down? Sharon, who lives in Virginia, she'd always mentioned they'd had Australian ballot for a long time, and she didn't remember at that point, which was probably a year ago, anything ever failing in terms of, because they're individually voted on. But Bristol as a town, we haven't decided on whether we're going to do Australian ballot. We still have a town meeting, and so it's a floor vote. But we could make a decision to go Australian where everything would be individually voted on.
Right.
Or even floor vote, you could have individual articles for every single thing, like we did one of those town meetings, and the ballot was like 5 pages long.
Correct.
But
well, that was stepping behind the curtain on Tuesday.
Right, you could still do it that way from the floor. It would just take forever.
We've done it.
Usually the moderator just asks you know, everybody wants to get out of there and they just,
Right.
they put everything
Right.
together. We vote for $250,000 for 22 organizations or 25 organizations,
Right,
all in a
right.
hoot and a holler.
Right.
But we can say, we're doing it individually. We
Yeah.
don't have,
Gonna add 10 pages of town report, which
Right.
I'm not,
Why
I would
can't
like
we
to
do
see
that?
it, right, step behind the curtain and you make your own mind up.
So that would be Australian.
right.
Right.
Step behind the curtain, but you know, you mentioned this thing, this is one of the toughest years, because everything is rising, and that's what I'm hearing from voters too.
Right,
I
right.
mean, I think
My
it's
taxes
hard,
are going through the
I
roof,
think it's
too.
really hard to me in an open floor vote for somebody to vote against something. I think it's a peer
You
pressure
got-
thing.
Yeah,
And
it
for
sure is.
me, that's where I think it's more fair to do an Australian ballot on those types of issues, because you know, you don't want to say no to a social service, but you may feel like, I can't afford to say yes to that, you know, or whatever, you know, whatever your reasons are, they may not want to
Or
bring
it's
it
a
up to the
service that you
floor.
feel
Right.
doesn't
Doesn't
affect you or
deserve it.
doesn't touch you, whereas
Right.
others might.
Exactly.
Right.
I do like the ability to choose. For this voting year, we would have had to have the question be on the ballot
Mhm.
this year, whether
Right.
we want to do Australian,
next
but we could put the question on the ballot for the year after next,
Mhm.
to have it all be Australian.
Yep.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
For budget
I
stuff.
mean, we don't have to vote tonight, Selectmen's comments or concerns, we
Right,
don't.
so
Right,
going back to
right.
your
Just that-
increase.
Could we say, to department heads, we'd like to see a budget with the bottom line, no more than 5%?
Sure, we can tell them that, we can say that and see what they come up with. If they come in and say, there's no way I can do it,
Val, do you have any experience that in terms of past experience in
In
Waitsfield?
my past experience, the legislative body, whether it was a council or a select board, would set those goals, but rarely met them. That it was always, you know, they started out that way, but then when you get into the sausage making of it all, it just, it would ebb and flow and end up where it needed to end up.
I do think setting
I'd like some goals.
setting a goal, I think, would be helpful.
Mhm.
And it may
blow up.
it may produce budgets that are slightly more conservative.
Yeah.
In that first round, or just because a department is thinking that particular way, knowing that they have a certain percentage that they're trying to meet and not go over. So it might be useful to do that. You know, setting limitations can be pretty
Yeah,
positive.
my only concern with that is that, you know, I get that, but if they start doing a budget that way, but it's not realistic, and
That's
they're
true,
just
that
trying to
is
get to what the
changing.
goal is,
Yeah.
then they get in trouble next year.
Well,
Like, I mean,
Maybe it's something we could bring in for the 27th, Valerie, just to go,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
Well, there's a
yeah.
department head here, so if we said it's
no,
Five-
If you
five-
guys
5%.
just, let's just say, use for example, you set a budget for me of, okay, Eric, I don't want you to go 5% more over than what
This
you
year's
had
budget.
last year, or this
Yeah.
year's budget.
Mhm.
My question to you guys is,
what do you want me to cut?
what do you want me not do?
okay.
Right,
I mean, cause like blades right now, I haven't ordered any blades for plow changes because, I don't wanna spend the money.
Yeah.
But I got enough right now, I can change one plow, that's it.
For the winter or just?
For the winter, one plow, that's all I got enough blade for to do right now. If I wanna do,
you mean blades, you replace the bottom section of the plow?
yep, that wear out,
Cutting edge.
Yeah.
Cutting edge, yeah.
Okay,
cutting edge, if I wanna do one plow and one wing change per truck, so it's 4 plows, 4 wings. I've been getting prices right now, of almost $6,500.
per unit?
No,
Or
for all of them.
For all of them.
And last year I bought them, it was $4,500.
Mhm.
Tires have gone outrageous
Yeah,
right
right,
now
yeah.
for tires.
Mhm.
And this is the only thing, like Valerie said, everything is going up, so do you wanna cut the services to the community that we provide to keep the budget down so the taxpayers don't go up, which I understand, all the taxes are going up. I agree that they're going too high, and it's not to toot the town's horn, but it's not the towns, the municipalities that are making them go up so high, it's the frickin' schools.
Well,
Right.
we're in that boat with them. I
Mhm.
mean, they're the bigger person. They got the bigger budget. I agree with that.
Yeah, so that's where all your money's going, well, not all, 80% of your money is going.
It'll
to
always
that.
go there.
Always go there. So, but
We,
yet.
the 5 of us that sit here and with Valerie, the 6 of us,
Yeah,
with your guys' guidance, we have zero control over the schools.
absolutely.
If we
That's
wanna
what I'm
run,
saying.
we'll run, but we have control over the voters' budget for the municipal
Right
services and
here,
stuff.
right, so what
And
I'm
that's what I'm
saying
saying is, I'm just trying to get back to somewhat, or maybe we go what they call base budgeting, that we just, okay, what did you actually spend in that line item last year?
okay.
And they're
right
gonna
now-
add 5% or 10.
Right now, with the breakdowns I've had this year,
Yeah.
I'm already just about maxed out.
Yeah,
on
you are.
Contracted services. And I've still got 7 months to go.
Right.
So if you wanna go by actual spending, what I've done, my budget's probably gonna be going up 8-9% for actual spending.
I mean, I just think about remember when we got the estimates for the river?
Yeah, the river
river
repair,
fix,
yeah.
and we were all thinking maybe $200,000, and it came in at like
So-
$500
Oh,
million,
well,
and we're
yeah,
all
when
going,
when the
"What?"
engineers said, yeah, between Bartlett's and Circle Current, we
Right.
could do it for 250, the low bid was 540.
right.
Yeah.
And we're
I mean,
going,
that's kind of what
and
we're
we
all
all
running
said we
into.
weren't going back to the
And there are
voters for
things.
$300,000.
Right, you're going-
Val,
Right,
So,
right.
go ahead.
So,
Dan.
I would never recommend to any organization to do a flat cut across all departments. That just does not make sense, and it's not practical. I think along the line of what Eric had mentioned, we need to think about what services, what level of service the select board wants to deliver to the community, and what are the core purposes of why we exist. Public health and safety, really. And so I think those are high priority operations for us. So what other areas are not specifically aligned with those high priority functions of the municipal government?
Okay.
I mean, it's a rhetorical question for our discussion next time, but that's
Okay.
something
Just-
to think about.
I mean, outside of Eric mentioned the schools, there's also a lot that is out of our control with insurance. and
Insurance,
with
all that, yeah. I mean, if you
all
want
of them.
percent,
They can
that's
do
it
no
right
other.
there. Insurance, nothing else gets done. Pay raises, yeah, that's tender. So,
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay,
Okay, all right,
yeah,
I do recommend, though, that as we look at benefits and overhead and that kind of thing, I think we did it before, and I don't think it worked out in our favor. That I don't recommend skimping or cutting in the area of investment in the personnel, the people that do the work. I think that's not the place to cut.
okay,
no,
okay,
all right.
But, like me and Brett and, I'll go through my budget and do as best I can.
yeah,
Right.
But I just wanted to make you guys understand that because of, like Brett said and Valerie's been saying, the prices of stuff are going up, even just to maintain what we got now. You're probably looking at a 3 to a 4% increase just to maintain what we got.
no, and we
Oh,
know,
wait. Yeah.
we know that you're not inflating your budget and getting everything that you want by far, we know that you
Well,
put the
my
work
last
in.
year's here, you'll see a big, I'm going base.
Yeah, right. Okay, go ahead.
It's like, ask for the world, right, see what you get.
That's right.
Alrighty. Valerie, what do you got? Town administrator's report. Anything more above your TA report?
Well, I can tell you that Frida and I met with Joel Fitzgerald and Floyd over at the MAUSD offices about a grant application, an upcoming grant application that'll be on the next agenda for a sidewalk on Airport Drive. And it was a very positive meeting. They're full on board. It's a very cooperative proposal. So you'll hear more about that at the next one, but it was very good to have that meeting with them. And what was the other thing? It was brought to my attention today about the new Firehouse Drive and the new on-street parking on Firehouse Drive. And how are we going to deal with winter maintenance plowing of Firehouse Drive with on-street parking there? How are we going to communicate to the occupants there about the restrictions of on-street parking? So we'll be working on that in the coming days. Communicating.
They're still part of the parking ban, right? When the light is on,
That's right. It doesn't go out that far. I haven't looked yet, but I believe we would need to amend the traffic ordinance to extend it to that area and have it be enforceable in terms of ticketing.
Well,
Aren't they still part of the village?
that's a village street
That's a
now.
village
Right, it's already part of the ordinance. They cannot
Okay.
there is no overnight parking.
Okay.
So
You know,
and-
It's like,
and
it's a matter of communication then.
we put
And we'll
notices
work on
out.
that.
We put notices out to people, for the first few weeks, we put notices on vehicles.
Oh, good.
And Bruce may have noticed it. I went by yesterday and I counted 6 cars parked on the road, both sides of the road going down Firehouse Drive in the parking spots, legally parked. And there were 9 open spots in the parking lots. I think some of them are parking there because it's shorter to their door.
You're shorter to the front door.
Yeah, it's shorter to their door and they haven't been notified yet. I've been
Yeah.
trying to make contact with somebody in the office. I thought they were supposed to have somebody there, but apparently they're on vacation. So, but we are putting notices on vehicles to remind people that there is no overnight parking.
Okay.
Maybe we need to put that on Front Porch Forum too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Bruce and I have been talking about this too, so.
But I went by yesterday and there were, like I said, 9 open spots. I counted them all in the parking lot. And they're off-street
That's
parking.
the question though, I mean, is there a sign that says no overnight parking?
There isn't, coming into town, all 4, 116, both sides, North Street and down on, I don't know if there's one on South Street that says no, November 1st, April 1st, no.
But I don't think
I
there's
just wonder if
not
there's a sign over there.
No,
No.
there's not there isn't a specific sign in that area, but
if Bruce
that
is
would
doing,
probably help.
if the police department's doing what he says, that should be notification for them, you can't park. I thought the planning commission wrote that up, that they could use the on-street parking for guests. And looks like they're not using it for guests, they're using it for themselves.
Yeah, it's supposed to be for overflow.
Overflow. And that's why I went around, counted all the parking spots, and there was 9 of them open.
Okay.
Well, we certainly
Okay.
can't patrol or
Right.
enforce who parks where, but I think the rationale in terms of the number of parking spaces provided in the parking lots was to make sure that the tenants themselves could be accommodated in the parking lots. And then there was additional space available for guests. So
Correct.
that was
Except those guests can't be there overnight.
Right.
yeah.
At
During
least
the
in
winter.
that parking spot.
Okay, any other,
First big snowstorm.
anything else, Valerie, for the TA?
No, I put a lot of stuff in the TA report.
Okay, any other business? Correspondence reports or correspondence
We
received?
talked about some of that already.
Yeah.
I think we did.
So you've posted, Val, you've posted the treasurer's position.
Yep, correct.
Okay.
We've received 1 application so far.
Okay, is there a timeline for that you have?
No, it's open until filled, basically advertised until filled.
Okay,
All right. Do we have an executive session?
I don't believe so.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, Ian?
oh, second, sorry.
What are you waiting
Sorry.
for?
All in
No, I was
favor,
reading
please
the
say
legal
aye.
wording here.
Aye.
Aye.
Right. We're adjourned.
Okay.
Shut.
Dale,
All right.
make contact with Jill maybe tomorrow or the next.
Thanks
day.
for coming, Jimmy.
Make contact with